So, how you feeling?
Oh, I don't think it's sunk in yet.
Yeah.
That's bizarre that they can put you through all that and then I'll just wish you well, and that's the
Yes,
end of it.
that's
It's
the
like,
end of it.
what?
I know. I
Yeah,
know. It can feel a bit bizarre, can't it? It's a bit like
yeah,
a sort of party that you've been aiming for ages without all the
yeah,
excitement. And then, yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. It's definitely, but and it's right, which is shocking because it feels like it's just an unfair process. So it's not going to be a good outcome.
yeah,
Sometimes, oftentimes, I know it isn't. So yeah, I'm so thankful that it's been a good outcome for me, but it's the right outcome. But
definitely. Definitely. And how's it kind of felt the whole way through it? Did you feel you were ready for the hearing? Did you feel you were prepared for what to expect?
absolutely not. No, I was shocked at how they can just shut you down. So valid claims like not actually being notified in the beginning, that they can say that they're under no obligation to ensure you've been notified. And
Yeah.
so I was just shocked and a bit bemused by the whole. You definitely need representation. There's no way you can go into something like that without, because they can just bamboozle you and
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think it's one of those things, isn't it? You don't realize till you're in it. And then
yeah,
when you're in it, it's a bit late, really, if you haven't got anybody there with you.
yeah, definitely,
Yeah.
definitely.
And
um
what about all the way through it, leading up to the hearing? Did you feel that if you had just had
this
the
is my
letters,
sister.
hiya,
Hiya.
if you had just had the letters, etc., would that have given, because obviously there's a lot of information in the letters from the NMC, isn't there? Do you think?
Oh yeah, no, you need to have some like yourselves, just somebody that you can clarify things with. It's just so, because it's almost like anything to do with NMC, when you get anything, everybody within your trust kind of wants to disassociate. And I had a good experience with like my manager and things. I know other people have much worse, but even then they kind of don't want that much to do with it because they're scared, I guess.
Yes,
You
yeah,
need someone to be able to like explain everything and what this means. And
yeah. And it takes
yeah,
time, doesn't it, to absorb it as well. And it's
absolutely. I'm still really shell shocked by the whole process.
yeah, yeah. You
um
said you've got a really good manager that supported you through this.
well, I mean, I say yes because I know that every other people have different experience, and she has, yeah, and I've been working, which is good. I feel like if something had happened that I wasn't allowed to work, it can be very much worse because you just ruminate on, everything. But I
A bit
mean,
of a distraction having work almost.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Um, I don't know. I mean, yeah, my manager has supported in that she's provided me with like a testimonial.
Yeah.
But again, I feel like, yes, she has supported me, absolutely, but it could have been a stronger testimonial. But everyone's scared, aren't they? They don't want to be dragged into this thing
Yeah.
because then,
Yeah.
but she
And
has supported me, yeah.
yeah, and I think that's it, isn't it? I think what's classic with nursing profession and midwifery as well is,
Mm.
and that's what came from the Panorama program, I think, on Newsnight the other night.
I
We're
can't have a chance. Well,
extremely
I
good.
didn't
Yeah.
dare watch it yet, but I'll watch it now.
Yeah. We're so good at looking after our patients, clients, mothers, everybody. We put everybody first, but we are absolutely rubbish at looking after each other. And it's
Yeah.
times like this where, thankfully you were in a work, and your manager supported you with that and kept you at work, and everything helped
Mm.
you when you were having stressful days. But for those people that don't have that, it must just be impossible.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely impossible. Yeah.
And you've
Yeah.
got you've got your sister with you, and you've been here through
Yeah,
most of the hearing, haven't you?
most of it. Yeah, I
You
just
sit down
missed.
if you want.
Sorry, we're sharing a chair.
No, don't worry.
Times are hard.
Yeah. So the hearing was an open hearing. So I'm just explaining some kind of recording. We're going to try and use some of it. So the hearing was an open hearing, which means that it's open to the public. But obviously, the registrants, the midwives, nurses can have somebody next to them as well. And with it being in your own home as well, brilliant. You can have whoever you want with you. So you've been sat with Nicola, have you, the whole time?
Yeah, I missed Wednesday, Thursday, Friday last week because I had to
Yeah.
go to work. But other than that, yeah.
Yeah. And so for you, you're the member of the public that the NMC are protecting from midwives and nurses.
Yeah. From this terrible
Yeah,
person
from
at the
her.
side of me.
Yeah. your sister. So for your point of view, what were your observations of the process itself?
Well, obviously I'm a bit biased because
Yeah.
I know the background to it.
Yes.
It just felt an absolute waste of time, of money, but
Mm.
more than that, the toll it's had on Nicola's health, her mental health, her physical health,
Yeah.
because of what they've put her through, and the dragging it out completely unnecessarily. Anyone could see from the outset that this was going to go nowhere.
Yeah.
But because we know how they operate, we didn't dare have the confidence to think that it wouldn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Because we've seen over and over again, and the more, of course, we've looked into it now that we know what it feels like to be involved, you see evidence of absolute miscarriages of justice.
Yeah.
And yet they seem to be accountable to nobody. They make their own rules. I mean, even yesterday when they were describing the definition of not impairment, the one before that,
Acts, misconduct.
misconduct.
Yeah.
They've made their own definition of misconduct.
Yeah.
They're just answerable to nobody.
Yeah. Yeah. And did you feel you kind of understood what was happening as it was going on as
Yes.
an observer?
Yeah, as the process unfolded, then I have to say at the start of it, Nicola had tried to talk to us about it, and we could, none of us, myself, my parents, we didn't understand at all. And we thought, is she confused? Has she mixed something up? And actually, as we started the process, we realised she wasn't confused or mixed up. It's because none of it actually made any sense.
Yes.
As to why we were in this position in the first place.
Yeah. And I think Nicola's case has been quite well, in some ways I think it's been quite extreme, but oh bless you, sitting on the floor.
Yeah, I'm actually sharing a chair.
I feel like sending you something to sit on. But in some ways it's been really extreme, but in other ways it's themes that we see again and again and again, which is quite worrying for me as a practitioner myself. Yeah. I mean, what were you expecting from the process yourself for your sister? I don't know whether it's little sister or big sister, but for your
little sister.
So for your little sister going through this, what were you expecting to happen and what didn't happen, do you think?
Well, I was expecting to see fairness, an open process. I mean, from the outset, the fact that they hadn't contacted her to start the investigation, she'd never had a voice from the beginning. So they'd already signed, sealed and delivered the fact that she was going to a hearing without allowing her to have any contribution to that whatsoever. Although I guess that's debatable in their opinion, because they say they did. They're still not, as far as we're aware, they've still not proven that they sent those emails.
No.
We've not seen evidence of it. We've seen evidence of the documents that they apparently sent in the emails. Well, anyone can prepare a document. It doesn't mean they've sent it.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is when
they can say there's no kind of, they're under no obligation to ensure you've received their correspondence. So that's just, I couldn't believe that.
Yeah.
And yet we found out later on that when they were contacting the witnesses, the midwives and healthcare practitioners who were on duty with Nicola that evening, when they didn't respond to emails, they wrote to them. They made sure they got a response from them.
The second attempt of communication was a written letter to their home address. They're not accountable. Like they just have, what's the word? I can't think.
They just do what's in their own interests, basically.
Yeah.
It was in their interest to get a witness to collaborate the story of the patient, which they didn't do. So then they just didn't bother submitting that.
Yes. Yes. So this is about, just again to explain to people, so this is about all the way through, Nicola, you asked the NMC to find out the names of the other midwives that were present when this incident happened.
Mhm.
And for whatever reason and whatever happened, basically the names of these other midwives weren't made visible to you. The NMC said that they couldn't track these people down and couldn't find any other witnesses. And then as your hearing went on, it became apparent that actually the NMC had contacted these people, and these people had said that they had either no memory of the incident or didn't want to get involved. And that's very different, isn't it, than being able to say that they couldn't get hold of them, because obviously you'd left the trust many years before, so you had no way of contacting them. And again, that's quite classic. Either people are dismissed, so they can't get hold of evidence, or they've moved on, as you had, because it happened like 8 years ago.
Yeah.
So the thing we were worried about was obviously that the information was in some of the original bundles, but the bundles that then finally went to the panel potentially didn't have that information in them for whatever
Because
reason.
it wasn't in the NMC's favour, was it, to submit that?
Well, to give the NMC benefit of the doubt, which I have to, you know, they say that it wasn't relevant because these people weren't going to be able to have any memory or give any evidence. But I think for you, you know, one of the cruxes was that they sent you notification by email and you didn't receive it. And the first that you knew of process happening of a fitness to practice referral was when the hearing was coming up and they wanted to have a case conference.
Yeah.
They say they sent you an email, you didn't receive it. Their standpoint was that you were ignoring it and you weren't engaging, whereas you were saying, look, why would I do that? When I found out about it finally in August, I started to engage. And our point was that for something as important as potentially removing somebody from the register, which any fitness to practice can do.
Yeah.
If you don't get hold of them by the first email, if you don't get hold of them by the second email, surely there should be another thing in place, such as sending a letter by recorded delivery to make sure that they get that, and that didn't happen. And I know from my own case, I had 3 letters by recorded delivery. So whether that's something that's changed recently, or I think perhaps just maybe slipped up in your case, just didn't happen.
Yeah. But the fact that they couldn't acknowledge that, and they absolutely would not. The fact that it was going to a hearing, it was going to a hearing. They couldn't at the beginning, if they'd have just kind of acknowledged that and started that part and allowed me to engage then, because it was through no fault of my own, then they didn't have to. But they just railroad through that, and they don't actually.
Yeah.
Well, their legal representative more or less said, well, we are where we are now.
Well, yeah, they did say that.
That was his words, we are where we are.
Yeah, so we may as well continue on.
Yeah. And so that, I guess, for you, how did that feel hearing that?
Well, horrendous, because as you know, as this process goes on, the charges change and you feel I felt almost I'm here and I can't kind of defend myself, because all these charges that were the initial charges had changed somewhat over time, and I wasn't even aware of what they actually resulted in, these charges, whilst I was there.
Yes.
It was just, it just seemed so unfair.
Yeah. And what would you think might have happened if you hadn't had representation?
Oh, it wouldn't have been this outcome now. Absolutely, I could not have gone into that hearing process without. It wouldn't have been a good outcome at all, because I would have had just no way of defending myself, and I did nothing wrong. But yeah.
So the NMC, you were left with 4 charges, I think, in the end, and after 5 days of hearing, the panel decided that only 3 of those charges should stay as facts proven.
Yeah, it was 5 initially.
5
charges.
sorry. Yeah, 5 initially. And then the panel decided that there hadn't been enough facts proven to continue with some of them. So you were left with 3. And then at the end, they then found you were left with 3 allegations that needed to be answered. They weren't even at the facts stage then. They were just basically saying that there's only 3 out of the 5 that you have to answer to. So it then went to the next stage, and we looked at whether the facts were going to be proven. And from those 3, only 1 of them had the facts proven, which was around documentation, wasn't it? That you didn't document in the
Yeah.
patient's notes after
Mm.
the period of the 3-hour period of time that you'd looked after that patient.
Mm.
But then we still had another 2 days of hearing after that to
Yeah.
establish whether there was misconduct and whether that misconduct then accounted for impairment. So
Yeah.
it's quite a lengthy process, isn't it, just in itself, of each of the different segments.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. And also, I mean, I'm not sure if this is just a legal thing but the way that the charges were written, that charge was a charge that was always going to be proven guilty of.
Yeah.
Like I didn't write in the notes after a certain amount of time. Well, that was clear that I hadn't. So they were always going to find that charge proven.
Yeah, regardless of the reasons for why you
Yeah.
had it, there were reasons why it
And I
wasn't
guess
written.
I guess in their eyes, that's why I don't know. Is that why they've written it that way? Perhaps so I know now it's not like there's no impairment. So if I'm right, I still don't really understand. It's not going to be on like any kind of record.
That's right. Yeah.
But the way they wrote the charge, that was always going to be proven. I just found that so unfair.
Yes.
Also.
Yeah. I mean, there have been a number of appeal cases where the judges have actually said the way that these charges have been constructed has given no option but to say, yes, that's right, because it's a statement of fact. It's a statement of fact rather than an actual charge, you know.
Yeah.
And from day one, that was always going to be the outcome for that particular charge.
Yeah.
You didn't write in the notes. Well, no, I know. That's why we're here. You turned up for shift on Monday.
Yeah, basically.
Charge, you know?
Yeah.
So the other thing I wanted to talk about is obviously you've been cleared. Nothing's been proven, and there's been no. Sorry, one of the charges was proven about documentation. You see, even I get confused, and I've been doing it for 7 years. So one of the facts was proven, but they found no misconduct and no impairment. Although they did say it fell below what would be expected of a nurse of a midwife at that time, which is we've all got learning. We can all have shown that throughout. So the next thing is you've got to get on with your life, and you've got to. Luckily, you're in work, so that's fine. One thing that many people on NMCWatch say is even when the case is over, they do still struggle to get work. Because there's that classic line on an application form, isn't there? Have you ever been subject to fitness to practice?
And so this is where I don't know where I stand now, because obviously this part now is new to me, and is this so? And I just still don't really understand. Is this now the same? I can't.
If somebody looks her up on the NMC, is she going to appear as because one of the facts was proven?
No, so nothing will be on her record on the NMC. And
do I still tick that box then that you're speaking about?
So she'll have to declare yes, she has been subject to a fitness to practice.
Well, that's what we need to get more clarification from the NMC about, and certainly what I've talked to chief nurses about. It's about how the question is asked, really. If the question says, have you ever been subjected to a fitness to practice investigation by a regulator, then of course you've got to say yes.
Yeah.
Now, with most application forms, you'd think that there'd be some way of being able to supply a narrative to that, to be able to say, well, I have, but I was cleared. But with some of the NHS England application forms, it's an algorithm, so it stops there. If you've ever been subject, you can't then proceed with the application. So it's a really big black hole, and it's something that we need to start addressing, really. If it says, if it says, are you currently, then obviously you can say no. I mean, we always say to everybody on the group, you need to be open and honest. You know, you need to, and particularly if you've had a sanction and then are going back to work after you've been cleared, you've got to be open and honest and face it. If an employer isn't going to support you, having known the stress that you've been through with that, then we've got to maybe try and pick other employers, really. But what do you think about that? I mean, you know, as a member of the public and a sister of somebody that's gone through, what does that make you think?
It's just so unfair because she's been cleared. We knew from the outset she'd done nothing wrong. it's been proven she's done nothing wrong.
Yes.
And yet this could impact on her future career, any promotion opportunities,
Yeah.
any development in
Yeah.
her career further. And yet even though she has been through that process, she's been cleared of any charges. Why should that then have an impact? Because it should be as if it never happened.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So if there was one message you had to give to the NMC, both of you, keep it clean. What would it be, just as a words of wisdom to the NMC after this experience?
For me, it would be that their role is crucial. There does need to be a body to protect the public, as we know that not everybody has the public's best interests at heart and patients' best interests at heart, and there does need to be a system for protecting that. But they need to treat their registrants fairly, yeah, and give their registrants a fair and honest opportunity to be involved in the process.
Thank you. And Nicola, any words of wisdom? Actually, let's spin it around a different way. Let's say, what about some words of wisdom for somebody going through fitness to practice? How about that?
I think I'm still a bit shell-shocked. I just don't think I can give anybody any kind of words of wisdom. I really don't. It is a horrendous process, but you definitely need representation. Absolutely. That would be the best thing I could say right now. Yeah.
And to talk to people around you, don't try and face it alone. Try and get support from other people.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I couldn't have done it without you, could I?
The period in between the hearing were the awful periods.
Yeah.
When the hearing was taking place and you're focused on a conversation and listening to evidence, yeah, it's when they adjourn, and then you don't know when they're coming back, and they might say we'll be back in 2 hours at 2:30, and then at 2:30 you get an email saying it's going to be 4:30, and then at 4:30 nobody's sent a link and you don't know what's happening. This is somebody's life and career and future they're talking about, and it's just not fair to put people through that. I mean, in one instance you were left overnight in the middle of questioning, had to stay on oath overnight,
yes,
until the next morning because of how late it got in the evening. We understand why. Yeah. But to do that to somebody is just horrendous.
Yes. Yeah. Well, thank you both for speaking, particularly so soon after when we literally just stopped at about an hour ago, didn't we, at the hearing? Yeah. So finally, after 8 days, and we got the outcome that we were hoping for. So that's just fantastic. So well done. Go and celebrate, go and sleep, go and relax.
Yeah.
And well done. And keep in touch and let us know how you're getting on next steps. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.